What did your school waste money on that nobody liked? They made a huge screen with 4 huge plasma screens and put it in a very random place in a very random building hall. No signal. No signal. No signal. No signal. A clock tower with no clock. So a tower got to have some place to set up a defensible sniping position. Name tags. Shortly after Columbine and all those other shootings peaked in frequency, it was supposed to keep outsiders from getting in the school unnoticed and shooting everyone, but at the time people doing the shootings were always students. So we joked they were bulletproof. Why not just school IDs? Why name tags? My school had IDs, but we had to wear them on a lanyard so that everyone could see them. Maybe this is what they meant by name tag. Some of my classmates won a bunch of money for our school. Our school was one of the lowest funded schools in the district. The district took the money and spent it on another school. That reminds me, when I was a sophomore, my school was next in line to get renovations and upgrades. Only half classes even had air conditioning. Instead, the district built a new school that took half of my graduating class. They also took teachers, so my classes were still overcrowded. Yeah. Our school has about 2,000 people, while it was built for like 1,200. None of our classes have air conditioning, to my knowledge. None of my classes do at least, and our school spent $15,000 on the new sports team, when our arts program, show choir, marching band, theater, etc. has been begging for funding for 15 years. My old high school had more than enough room for its student size. Then for some reason they decided to build a new school and say they would convert the old one into an old folks home. Well, the old school ended up having mold or something, so it couldn't be used, and it is still just an empty building that people break into all the time to explore. The new school ended up being a lot smaller to where we needed 2 portables in the first semester. Hallways were a lot more cramped. Lockers were about half the size and not very usable. We lost a game room, playground, large open field with a small forest, and instead got a landfill that smelled bad and polluted the water and a fenced off field. There were also a bunch of other complaints that I can't think of right now. Was on boys varsity soccer team in high school. New head coach wanted to emphasize more analytical approach, and as such, had booster club buy a $10,000 goalpost camera. None of the team liked the idea anyway, especially since the girls soccer team used their money for new jerseys and nicer balls, and they still made it farther in their playoffs than we did almost every year. As it turns out, the coach couldn't figure out how to put the camera together, and we never used it. Biggest waste of $10,000 I've ever seen. $10,000 goalpost camera. How much of that was a kickback to your coach? Because for a tenth of that I can buy a GoPro and have a custom made cage to protect it. But I need the absolute best, like the pros use. That's the only way I can become a pro too. This is the equivalent of amateur musicians buying exorbitantly priced instrument models for their first lesson. Newtvillers in the cafeteria that just show the morning announcements. Edit. They already send out emails that have the morning announcements in them. They just need to send out announcements in an email. Fatter as the thing, they already do that. The large schoolyard at my school had a set of planters in the center. They were basically 4 triangles made of brick that pointed in at each other and created an X-shaped walkways between. The outside sides had a bench each attached. People would sit and chat to each other on the benches, teachers and students alike. There was very little litter or vandalism. The plants were kinda pretty insofar as any secondary schooler would care to notice. One year a duck made her nest in one of the planters, and apart from a few "oh hey a duck nest" comments, it was left alone. Then for some reason the school decided to rip the planters out. Took them 2/3 of the school year to do it, and blocked off the X walkways so everyone had to crush by on the outside lanes between classes. Everyone was super curious as to what the planters would be replaced by. Turns out, nothing. They simply bricked over the holes left by the planters and left it as a huge empty space. We didn't even get new benches, so no one had anywhere to sit during break. People started to miss the plants, since the lack of color left the whole area kinda bland. We also kept to the old X walkway, since stepping over the former planters felt weird. They spent money to deprive students of something nice. Caring for plants costs money every year. Bricky 9ng it up costs money once. Still a dick move though. Sure. But why not replace the benches? If you have any stories, please share them in the comments section below. iPads for the kindergarten. They were intended to have educational apps on them that kids could play on at indoor recess. Believe it or not, most kindergarteners would rather play on the swings or play with dolls than learn to write their name on an app. No one used them. No one liked them, and they all broke within 2 months. HRRMM. My indoor recess at that age was the whole group using these big puzzle piece foam blocks to build castles and then crawl all over them. We would not have cared about the iPad either. Trash cans with the school logo on them and banners. They tried hyping us up about new trash cans on the morning show. At my school they took away some of the tables in the cafeteria until we kept it cleaner. We just sat on the floor instead. My elementary school did not even have tables, we just sat on the floor in the halls. An anatomically ambitious statue of our animal mascot. Pick PLS. Look up William and Mary Griffin statue. If you're really curious, why did they give the statue enormous testicles? Or 3D printer that the teachers won't learn how to use, so now nobody is allowed to use it. My school got 4 of those and the teacher responsible for them actually encouraged us to take the SolidWorks course to learn about 3D design. It was actually a lot of fun, and I still have some of the objects I created. My college bought a small restaurant out for $1 million to build $1 million brick gate that doesn't close. Mine bought out a shopping center, built a dorm with restaurants no one eats at, and now won't let anyone use it. Edit. A lot of people are asking about it, so I found an article. https://www.normantranscript.com/news/cross-village developer Suzo U4 over million /article _6340F41C205D11EA011 app 0. 26AA113 Fe.amp.html. When 65 inches TVs were like $4,000 a pop, they set about 8 of them around campus that just displayed the time. $4,000 clocks. Not to mention whatever they used as a video source to send to the display. My son's current school sent out an email to parents announcing that they'd like to add voice projection to every class. He's in 1st grade and there are 20 kids in his class. Totally unnecessary. They had a demo session and it sounded horrible. My high school got these midway through my junior year, and they sucked. The range wasn't great, and the receiver in one classroom would pick up the microphone in another, and the battery life was awful, so the teachers rarely used it. The best thing that they were used for was the one time that my teacher noticed a kid in the room across the hall was asleep in class. They were watching a video and the other teacher had stepped out of the room for a moment and walked over to the door so that the other room's receiver would pick up his mic and said wake up, and then closed his door. My teacher uses a megaphone because he's a heath and pet teacher, so when we misbehave in class he closes the door and plays Baby Shark through the megaphone. That's inhumane. And thanks. Now you got it looping in my head. My high school purchased a vending machine that only contained Swerve. What is Swerve, you ask? Carbonated milk. Why on God's green earth would someone make that? r/carbonated milk. I am just as confused and mildly disgusted. Ask the dwellers of this sub. A memorial tree was planted for a girl who was killed right before graduation by her family and friends. The school allowed it, and there was a beautiful Japanese maple tree there for like 10 years. Apparently they just cut it down and had no reason why. Family is pissed. Alumni are pissed. Damn it, Wego. A memorial tree was planted for a girl who was killed right before graduation by her family and friends. I misinterpreted that sentence at first. Me too. I thought she was killed by her family and friends. My high school wasted a ton of money buying 2 golf carts. Their reasoning was it allowed staff to get to any dangerous scenes faster. Except we never had any accidents and they were mostly used for joyrides by the hall monitors. This seems like a shitty idea regardless. Driving golf carts indoors in a school sounds dangerous. I imagine that it was a school with multiple buildings and outdoor space, but it's funny to imagine them inside tiny hallways. Get out of the way. I'm a hall monitor. When I was still a student, My school spent almost $200k to paint the roads outside our school. You read that right. Almost $200,000 of our precious tuition dollars to paint the roads outside blue and yellow. To pour salt on this painful wound. The paint job didn't even make it through winter. So just to reiterate, $200,000 for 3 months of painted road. I think I'm still angry about it. That's gotta be the dumbest one I've read in here. A lot of them are dumb and that money was spent on technology or other things that wouldn't be used. But those at least keep some value after being bought. This is just throwing money away. I am a teacher. My first year, the school leader bought a ping pong table for the lounge in an attempt to make school more fun and relaxing. It simply became a surface to put copies on. They decided all of the glue sticks had to be purple. I guess purple glue does taste as good as purple crayons. 2012 Chromiox that die in like 30 minutes. It's a tragedy when schools try to get tech for their students and basically buy junk because they have no idea what they are doing. And the next time someone brings up doing it right, they just point to it failing last time. We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. Yeah, it's pretty much like that at times. Our principal was also open to suggestions. When we asked him, what did he do with all the suggestions? He simply replied, me being open to suggestions does not imply that I will read it or act on it. What an asshat. However, I miss him too. Don't know why. I miss few teachers too that I hated during my school years. Our mascot was a rocket, and a certain percentage of school construction money had to be spent on art. They spent $90k commissioning a giant rocket sculpture for the main field entrance. When it was unveiled, the artist had made one tiny change to the design. Instead of a pointy rocket tip, he'd gone with a rounded, mushroom tip. I mean, we thought it was hilarious, especially when they cut off the tip as their solution to the problem. But nobody liked it. They circumcised the rocket. They cut out welding, machine shop, wood shop, and graphic design to buy a $1 million scoreboard for football. A scoreboard? Seriously? And I thought my school making an entire sports hall only for football teams was stupid. Our new Slick Willy superintendent insisted on buying an educational product for $500,000 that consisted of software that nobody wanted or could use. It was from his girlfriend. Slick Willy went to jail. Son's elementary school PTO had an excess of funds. They decided to spend it on a buddy bench. A buddy bench is a bench that you can sit on if you want buddy. In theory it sounds like a decent idea, except that it was placed in the hallway near the office and none of the kids wanted to be identified as someone who didn't have a friend. Nobody ever sits on it. My school just spent tens of millions of dollars on a remodel that includes a new commons and front office area, which were not needed, but no new classrooms, which were desperately needed. The old commons was warm, inviting, bright and beautiful. It wasn't old. The new commons is dark, cold, sterile and uninviting. The exterior was changed too. The entire front of the school used to be attractive. Now it looks like a prison. I think maybe the architect presented the design as a joke, but our principal liked it so the architect just rolled with it. This isn't common knowledge, so I was really the only one incensed by it. But I worked for Cisco Foods as a baker at university, and the upper echelons of the administration had hired their own personal pastry chef to make these extravagant desserts for their meetings. The pastry chef was legit. She made absolutely amazing desserts of a wide variety every day, loaded them onto a cart, and with her baker's outfit and hat on would wheel it up to their daily administration meetings. Her salary was paid for by the students of the school, so that the administrators could dine on first-class pastries and desserts made from scratch each day. She was really good at her job and actually helped me improve in the bakery. But I was so mad her job even existed simply to provide pastries to people who just sat around and decided how the school's money was spent. I obviously didn't make a stink about it to anyone because she was my friend and I wouldn't ever dream of putting her employment at risk. But I couldn't help feeling like her entire career was to make fat cats fatter and it just boiled my blood. I'm also going to assume, from my time in corporate events planning, that most of the pastries went to waste, since even the fattest cat can't eat more than a couple of croissants and most people won't even touch them. Now, Those find their way to someone one way or the other. Put em out. Take em home. Pastries always get got. Thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe for more content.